You can see why. Now the yellow stairway you see there, underneath it, the most dangerous place in London, called Skateboard City, where you can be run over by a teenager, 30 years of age, on a skateboard, and they don't even say sorry. But I don't know if you've seen this new thing kids do, they call it parkour, where they jump off of stairways and balconies and things like that. This is where it started, on the south bank of London. As the little urchins were being chased by the police, they were jumping over the balconies, and now it's called sport. A lot of the kids who've done their sport here, the skateboarding underneath and the bike riding, well, a lot of those last year represented our country in the Winter Olympics, so it does do them some good. But it's open 24 hours a day. It's all sponsored by our lottery now, apparently. But if you do walk along the South Bank, folks, don't just walk along the river. If you look at these buildings, they've got all different levels. And on each level, you'll find a different place to eat and drink. So the girls done a good job. It was also faced with what we call a self-cleaning Portland stone. So it's never officially been cleaned since it was built. We rely on a little drop of rainfall, which we do have every now and again in London. The rain gives it a wash, the sun comes out, bleaches it back to this grey colour, folks. Look above your heads in the archway above you, because this is the colour London would be if we didn't have that little drop of rain every few days. Now on your left, the very elegant building, it was built as a royal palace for the Dukes of Somerset, hence its name, Somerset House. Unfortunately, the Dukes never got to live in the building. Apparently they upset someone in the royal family and they lost their heads instead. Oh. So now it's known as King's College, part of London University. To our right, the first building, got their sign working today. This is the National Theatre. This was founded by the late Lord Olivier. But look along the right, we've got this big empty space. 2 months ago, we had tower blocks here, but we've taken them down because we need to build more luxury apartments and hotels on the river. That's what we're going to get all the way down the Thames now. But if you look on the right, we've also got that little village, so you can stop and have something to eat. Now on the left, the white ship on the road, the Wellington, started her life for the Royal New Zealand Navy. She ended her working life on the Atlantic convoys. She served on 104 convoys, which helped to keep this country going during the Second World War. Look behind the ship, you see the top of an archway called Temple Arch, and you can see this keystone there, Old Father Thames, looking at you. Now look behind that red ensign they're flying. There are 2 silver dragons on the wall, one each side of the road, and they're guarding the city of London. If you look through those trees there, some of the oldest buildings in London. If you're into your history, this was the home of the Knights Templar before they went off on their crusades. Now it's the home of the legal profession of this country, the Inns of Court. Here to our right, the red building, we call it the Oxo Tower. Look on the top, sitting on there is the oldest advertisement in London, which has been there since 1932. The top floor is a restaurant. The middle is apartments, the lower level some very nice shops. If you ladies want handmade jewellery or clothing, go and have a look in the shop. This building belongs to the Prince of Wales. Look above us on the right, the lovely building on the end, the curved one, headquarters of the manufacturing company known as Unilever. So we've got 3 bridges now. Blackfriars Road Bridge is the first one. It's looking a bit sad at the moment. So look at the arches on each side of the river, and that's what it's going to look like when we finish the renovation. Now the second bridge, we've only got these little red columns, the remains of the first railway bridge designed by Brunel to carry steam trains out of London. We had to remove the top because of the weight of the modern train. But this last bridge, well, 10 years ago, it was just a railway bridge, and then we stuck a top on it. It's now a station. The roof is 1,400 solar panels. So this is the only station in London that can be run on solar power. Now through the bridges on the right, this is still the South Bank. The building of the tall chimney, when it started its life as an oil-fired power station. But 25 years ago, we turned it into the Tate Modern. And if you understand modern art, it's a wonderful place to visit. If you don't understand modern art, I can recommend this little pub on the right. Just have an hour in the pub. You'll understand what they're talking about. On the left here, the real work of art, St Paul's Cathedral. On top of the dome is a viewing gallery. Now to reach it, you have to climb 528 stone steps. But it's one of the best views round the old city. In front of us here now, London's newest bridge. When it opened in the morning, this was called Millennium Footbridge. But when we closed it in the afternoon, we renamed it the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. And they'll know the reason why. So when we go under the bridge, look on the right. You see where that white van is parked? On the right behind him, is a very narrow house, and you'll see the red front door. And that was the home of Christopher Wren while they rebuilt St Paul's after the fire of London. So that's Wren's house on Bankside. Next door we have William Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, the only timber frame factory pleasure. This is Southwark Bridge, as you see, like the rest of London, hardly moving. Look to the right ahead of us, there's a shard. Look at the top right hand corner, that's the viewing gallery at the top. And can you see how empty it is? It's empty for one reason again, too expensive. The reason it's too expensive is all them towers on the left in the city, their viewing galleries are free of charge. So everyone's going to the city. So when we go through Southwark Bridge, in front of you, we have Cannon Street Railway Bridge. The station's on the left, and it's mainly used by people who go to work in the city of London. Now, as we go under the bridge, look over to the right. In the corner, behind the lights and all the flowers, there's a lovely little pub. Now, it's known as the Old Anchor Tavern. It opened in 1580, and this is where Samuel Pepys, the London diarist, lived when he described the Great Fire of London. But the attic of that pub was rented out to William. He's now racing into London. As we go under, look ahead on the right, another plastic building, and down the side of it we have a full-size replica of Francis Drake's pirate ship, the Golden Hind. Now that little ship is now 50 years old, and at the end of the year it's going to sail around the world for the very last time. It's been under renovation since COVID. So if you want to go and take the kids on there, you'll find it at the back of the Borough Market. So look on the left here, all these new towers. The large white one with a curved top, called the Walkie-Talkie. Behind it, the pointed one is the Scalpel. There's the Gherkin sitting in the middle. The cheese grater is alongside. And up the top we've got the salt and pepper pots as well. So this is called London Bridge. This one opened 1973. The road, now look through the bridge on the left, between those plastic buildings, there's a little church called St Magnus, which was designed by Wren. Look behind the church in the left corner, there's a giant candle commemorating the Great Fire of London, the monument. So look above us, folks, look at the walkie-talkie tower, the busiest viewing gallery in London. Now, I always tell people, if you can't get in there, go to the tower at the back, Horizon Tower, but someone told me on Saturday they couldn't get in the Horizon Tower either. So try the other buildings, because they've all got bars and restaurants on the top. On the left there, the yellow brick building has Golden Fish Weather Vane, known as Billingsgate, which was the oldest fish market in England. Next door, behind the trees, we have Custom House, which is the main customs office of this country. But if you look on the right here, folks, every building you see between these bridges, London Bridge City, the home of the Kuwaiti royal family in London. They own all of this part of our river. Now just leaving there, if you've got your cameras, you see this little flotilla of boats coming up here? All these little white boats? These are the Dunkirk little ships. They've been in St Catherine's Dock for the weekend, all on display, and now they're all going home, up round Chelsea and above. So there's the Dunkirk little ships. You always tell them, look at the flags they fly. It's the flag of St George, but there's a little yellow badge in the middle. And if you fly that flag on a boat and it's not a Dunkirk little ship, you can be arrested. But imagine boats like this saving the lives of well over 300,000 men. A lot of these, of course, were used in the film Dunkirk. So here to our right, HMS Belfast, been in 51 years as a museum ship for British Sea Tower. Open every day. Take the kids on there, you can lose them for a couple of hours. Now on the left is our tower. And if you look above the trees, we've got 4 turrets and a flagpole. Now look to the left tower up there. Can you see the red poppies coming over the battlements? We've got 37,000 poppies in the tower, and they've been put there to remember those men who never came home. So look on the wall over there where they're pumping out the moat, the entry to Traitors Gate, the very first one-way street in London. There we are, look at these little boats. Now imagine how many people they could get on board one of them. So in front of us now is the last bridge of London. This is our Tower Bridge. It opened in 1894. Now the lower sections, the bastions, raised up over the top. Someone came up with a brilliant idea. Let's enclose the walkways at the top so we can charge people to walk over. So if you look up there again, you've got the city badge. That means you're leaving London. And look underneath the badge up there, we've got glass pavements. So when we go under, give them a nice big smile and a wave. Make out you're enjoying yourselves. We've got people up there waiting to take your picture. So if you're here with someone you shouldn't be with, you're too late. You'll be in the Sun newspaper tomorrow. So you are now in the London docks, and unfortunately there are no docks working in London anymore because we prefer overpriced apartments. Now if you're getting off the boat, please make sure you have your personal belongings with you, especially small children and mobile phones. Be careful on the stairway and as you step from the boat to the pier. Now for those who are getting off, please check with our agent on the pier for the time schedule of boats returning to Westminster. Now folks, we've done a little commentary for you coming downstream to try and make your trip a little more enjoyable. Now if we have succeeded, if anyone who is leaving us here would like to show appreciation, it's just apartments. But the funny thing is, when you come this side of Town Bridge, you look around and there's no people. Looks like it's empty. Now, of course, London had become very expensive, so people always find other ways to live here. So look each side of us, see all these little Dutch gardens. Now, 20 years ago, if you went to Holland, you could have bought one of these little gardens for about £20,000. There were so many for sale, they were literally sold off as scrap metal. But if you like one of these little barges today to live on here, these sell at £700,000. All because you've got a London floor. Now, you must remember in the 80s and 90s, we used to go home from work, and when we came back to work the next day, another warehouse would have disappeared. They used to catch fire at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the window boxes, well, that's the home of Dame Helen Mirren, the famous actress. She's lived in that corner house for 30 years. If you'd like to be her neighbour, the 2 houses next to hers are up for sale for £5 million. They belong to a TV personality called Graham Norton. Well, he calls himself a personality. But anyway. So the building on the left, Oliver's Wharf, our oldest building. Look down the left side in the shadow, there is a pub. Today it's called the Town of Ramsgate. Many years ago, that was the Admiralty Court, where pirates and smugglers were sentenced to death. So you went in front of Judge Jeffries, you were sentenced to the grace of robbing. They took you out that little pub, see the stairs on the left there in front of it? You were taken down the stairs at low water. Now low water, this area dries out. You've got a little pub, this one with the white lights on, called the Angel. If you watch the old English gangster films, back in the 80s we made a film called The Long Good Friday, with Bob Hoskins as the governor. Well, this was the pub they used as their headquarters. At that time, our gangsters of London were trying to sell the docks to the American mafia, and they're still trying today. This little house on the right, the Leaning Tower of Rotherhithe, been falling over like that since the Second World War. It was sold at an auction last year for over £1 million, but no one has ever moved into the building, not even a squatter. So on the left there's our River Police, and there's the Captain Kidd pub. Now Captain Kidd was a very notorious man, what we call a privateer. Privateers were licensed by the British government to capture pirates on the high seas. But he soon realised it was more profitable being a pirate than it was working for the British government through ship. So if you take your children on board the Golden Hind, it's a very similar design. That little ship was built here and left London in 1620. Now keep looking on the right, there's a blue warehouse. Next to it is a brick wall. Look down the side of the wall, hiding in the corner, are 2 little grey figures, the pilgrims who missed the boat. Now Pilgrims Park is dedicated to the men who built the Mayflower. They came from this part of London, but they never came home. In 1520, that's when Henry VIII was on the throne of England. So from Henry to Charles III, we've had 23 kings and queens rule our country while they've been selling things. If only they sold it at King Henry's prices. Been frequented by pirates, smugglers, murderers, East London gangsters. It's called Peaky Blinders. When they came to London, they came down the canals to this part of the river. This part of London was extremely dangerous. This was known as Chinatown. Now I was in Chinatown Saturday night and I had a really good night because that's all bars and restaurants. This Chinatown is where you came to get your drugs, especially the opium. So look on the left, the first white house, the Grapes pub, where Charles Dickens wrote the novel Our Mutual Friend. The man who owns the pub lives in a house in the middle. See his yellow suit hanging up? Well, that's the home of Sir Ian McKellen, the famous actor, or Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Now, 10 years ago, the pub went up for sale, so he and his neighbours got together and they bought the pub. Otherwise, it would now be someone's private London home. So folks, look in front of us and you'll see this massive office development. It's known as Canary Wharf, and if you look at the tops of the towers down here, you can see it's mainly a financial city. The name from Canary Wharf comes from the building in the centre, the one with that dark grey pyramid. Where that tower was built is where we unloaded the goods from the Canary Islands. Hence the name, the Canary Wharf. But it is literally just a financial district. Here to our right, this big old warehouse is Columbia Wharf, where we unloaded tea and coffee from Columbia. It is now called the Hilton Hotel in Docklands. Now if you book a room there, you could end up in a private apartment, because you look at their pier on the right, they also own those 2 blocks of apartments. So look to your right now, can you see this little house? It's got chimney pots and a lookout tower in the middle, and that was the home of Admiral Lord Nelson. When Nelson came to London, he stayed there, because as he looked down this river, on this right side, as far as you see today, this was the naval dockyard of Deptford. Now this was the birthplace of the British Navy, well over. Now folks, we're on the way down to Greenwich. So when we get there, we're going to call alongside. Now, if I'm right, we're due to leave there at 1:10 So when we leave at 1:10, there's a boat every 30 minutes. So it's 10 past and 22 each hour. And that's the split.
We don't know anything.
See all these little houses on the right?
What would you say?
This is the little runnels to learn where the food comes from. Now there is another farm over on the left, in amongst all those massive towers. We call it Mudchute Farm. And over there, they specialise in all the different breeds of pig that we used to have in this country. Most of it, of course, all disappeared. So folks, I'm going to leave you in a bit of peace and quiet for a couple of minutes, because I think I've got a lukewarm cup of tea waiting at the box. Now folks, we do these little rides coming down our river because we don't see the point of you travelling on the Thames if you don't know what you is passing by. We call those mystery tours. You get them on these horrible Uber boats because they don't.
Ah, okay, so that's the Cutty Sark. Yeah, I can only.
The inside is like for kids.
Is it a shell of its former self?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You don't have to laugh.
It's a shell.
It's a shell of its former self. So where are we docking?
Just where that orange bit is. See, there's a boat there already. Is it?
Orange bit. Relative to the Cutty Sark, where are we looking?
Well, if you look under the two domes, the left dome.
Oh, those. Okay, I do see it now. Yeah, so it's right there.
See, I've been having. Yeah, so I've had trouble with my son.
That is.
Which is always a nice place to visit. Now look to the right of the ship on the hilltops there. There is a green dome. And that's our observatory where you get 0 longitude. On top of the dome is a black T-piece with a red ball underneath. Now at 2 minutes to 1, the ball rose up to the top. And at 1 o'clock exactly it dropped. So we just missed it. It's just gone 1 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Now you see the observatory's on the hill. If you want to walk up there, it's about a 20-minute walk or drink. But to show you how London's changed, you look down that river there on your left, and that's what it's all about. That was all big empty spaces, and everywhere you go now, that's called Greenwich Peninsula. We changed it to North Greenwich, and now it's called the Peninsula. And as we go in the pier, if you look down that left corner, you might be able to see the cable car, which is crossing over to the Royal Docks. That little brick building you see down there on the riverbank, Malden Wharf. If you look above it as we go in the pier, you'll see the cable car down the left, behind the trees. This is the Whitehall Court, which is luxury apartments and the Horse Guards Hotel. If you get a chance, go in the building. It's absolutely magnificent, nearly all pink marble. So there we are, Charing Cross Railway Bridge in front of us, the green structure, and where you see the people, the Golden Jubilee Walkway. Now, it's always nice to wave at people above you on the bridge. The reason we say that is all the time they're waving back, we can see what they're going to throw at you when we go underneath. If they don't wave back, please don't wave. Now we're going to make a short stop at this little pier, and then we'll have a cruise to the south bank on the right, see if we have anyone to pick up. So just bear with us for a couple of minutes. Actually, if you look straight down the river in front of you, look at the end of it back on the pier, you see the stone column, and that's the Cleopatra's Needle, the oldest landmark in London. London is about 2,000 years old, but that needle is 3,500 years old. It was taken from the Sun Temple in Heliopolis, and there is another one. There's always a twin, but the twin to this one is in Paris. So their one is a lovely pink mark. I realised, but right till 1968, St Paul's was the tallest building in London. We had a law in London that said no building is allowed higher than the Cross of St Paul, which was 365 feet. Well, if you look down